The next morning, He Jin led the alien delegation on a tour of Earth's main solar monitoring center. The huge facility sat underground in Antarctica, far from any electronic interference. Massive screens covered the walls, each showing different aspects of the sun's activity. "This is where we track everything our star does," He Jin explained, watching as Rai-Su and her team stared at the displays with wide eyes. "We can predict solar flares hours before they happen." One of the alien scientists, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. "But your prediction systems must fail sometimes," he said. "What happens then?" He Jin pointed to a large screen showing a web of satellites around Earth. "That's why we have layers of protection. Our shield network can handle flares 10 times stronger than anything we've seen in recorded history." Rai-Su shook her head. "You don't understand. We've studied stars like yours for centuries. They're unpredictable, dangerous." She pulled out a small device and projected a hologram of different stars. "Look at these readings. Your star's type has a history of random energy spikes that no one can predict." "That's what makes it interesting," came a new voice. Everyone turned to see Commander Kyungmai entering the room with another human. "This is Du Yun, our diplomatic expert. He'll be helping us understand each other better." Du Yun bowed slightly to the aliens. "I hear you're concerned about our home," he said with a warm smile. "Would you like to see how we've turned our sun's power into our greatest resource?" The aliens followed Du Yun to another section of the facility. Here, the screen showed Earth's massive solar power network. Thousands of satellites collected the sun's energy and beamed it to receiving stations on Earth and Mars. 70% of Earth's power comes directly from our star, Du Yun explained. "We've learned to dance with danger, as my grandmother used to say." Rai-Su touched one of the screens gently. "Your people use this unstable force to power your civilization. The risk seems unnecessary. There are safer ways to generate energy." "Safer, yes," He Jin agreed, "but not as efficient. Our sun gives us more energy in 1 hour than our whole civilization uses in a year. We'd be foolish to waste that gift because we're afraid." One of the monitoring stations began beeping. The aliens jumped back, but He Jin calmly walked over to check it. "See here." He pointed to a growing dark spot on the sun's surface. "A new sunspot is forming. In about 6 hours, it might cause a medium-sized flare." Instead of showing fear, the humans in the room looked excited. Several scientists began taking notes and adjusting instruments. "You're studying it?" Rai-Su asked, bewildered, not preparing to take shelter. Kyungmai laughed softly. "This is normal for us. Like watching weather patterns. Our buildings, vehicles, and electronics are all designed to handle solar activity. It's just part of daily life." Besides, Du Yun added, "these solar events help us understand our star better. Each one teaches us something new." Rai-Su conferred quietly with her team in their own language. When she turned back to the humans, she looked troubled but curious. "Our own history teaches us to avoid unstable stars at all costs. We've seen entire civilizations fall because they built too close to volatile stellar bodies. Maybe they fell because they never learned to adapt," He Jin suggested. "Humanity has faced countless challenges: ice ages, massive volcanic eruptions, asteroids. Each time, we didn't run away. We learned. We built. We grew stronger." As if to emphasize his point, the sunspot monitoring system updated its prediction. The coming flare would be larger than initially expected. "Would you like to stay and watch?" He Jin asked the aliens. "It's quite beautiful, actually. Our shields turn the solar radiation into an aurora that covers the whole planet. People organize parties to watch them." The aliens stared at him in disbelief. The idea of celebrating what they saw as a deadly event seemed to shock them more than anything else they'd learned. "Your species," Rai-Su said slowly, "treats one of the most dangerous forces in the universe like it's a source of entertainment." "Not exactly," Du Yun replied diplomatically. "We respect its power. But we've learned that fear of something doesn't help you survive it. Understanding does. Would you like to understand it with us?" The aliens looked at each other again, then back at the humans who so calmly watched their deadly star. Finally, Raisu nodded. "Show us," she said. "Show us how you learn to live with fire." 6 months after first contact, the space around Earth looked very different. A new station hung in orbit, built by both humans and aliens working together. Its design combined human solar shields with alien scanning technology. The station's name was written in both human and alien languages, Starbridge. Commander Kyungmai stood at the station's main window with Raisu, watching Earth below. Small lights flickered across the planet as the shield network caught and converted solar energy. "The first group of alien students arrives tomorrow," Kyungmai said, checking her tablet. "They're excited to learn about living near an active star." Raisu nodded. "And our first human visitors will reach our homeworld next week. Your people will teach us about quick thinking, while we teach them about long-term planning." In the station's research lab, Hujin and a team of alien scientists were testing new ways to study stars. They used alien careful observation methods combined with human creative problem-solving. "Look at this," Hejin said, pointing to their latest results. "By combining our technologies, we can now safely study stars we never could before. Your people's careful scanning and our protective shields work perfectly together." Taiwan rushed into the lab, excited about something. "The new hybrid ships are ready," he announced. "They're faster than our old ships, but safer than we ever thought possible." The hybrid ships were a perfect example of what both species had learned from each other. They had human solar sails for speed and alien safety systems for protection. They could travel close to stars that the aliens once thought too dangerous, but with better safety measures than humans had used before. Du Yun entered the lab with more news. "The education exchange program is growing," he said. "More alien families want their children to learn Earth's science, and human students are eager to study alien history. They'll learn from each other," Raisu said, "just like we did." The station shook slightly as another solar flare hit Earth's shields. No one panicked. Instead, both humans and aliens worked together, gathering data and testing their new combined technologies. "Remember when we first arrived?" Raisu asked, watching the flare through special windows. "We thought you were all crazy for living here." "And now?" Kyungmi smiled. "Now we understand that facing challenges makes you stronger. Running from them." Raisu paused. "Running just means you never learn to handle them." Outside the station, a new ship was preparing for its first mission. Its crew was mixed. Both humans and aliens. They were going to explore a star system that both species had avoided before. The humans thought it was too stable to be interesting, while the aliens thought it was too active to be safe. Together, they had found a way to study it. "That's the real breakthrough," Hejin said, watching the ship prepare to leave. "Not the technology we've made together, but the way we've learned to see things differently." Du Yun agreed. "Your people taught us to be more careful, to think about long-term effects. We taught you that some risks are worth taking." The new ship's engines powered up, combining human solar power with alien stable energy systems. Its shields, designed by both species, glowed softly in the darkness of space. "We came here thinking we needed to save you from your star," Raisu said. "Instead, you showed us that living with challenges makes you stronger. And we showed you that being careful doesn't mean being afraid." As they watched, more ships arrived at the station. Trading vessels, research ships, and passenger crafts from both civilizations. What had started as a warning about a dangerous star had become something much more important, a bridge between two very different ways of living in space. "So what's next?" Kyungmai asked, looking at the stars beyond their solar system. "Everything," Raisu replied. "Together, we can explore places neither of us could reach alone. Your courage and our caution. Your speed and our safety. The stars aren't just challenges anymore. They're opportunities." The station's shield sparkled as another solar flare passed by, its energy caught and converted into power for their new shared future. Earth's dangerous star, once seen as a threat, had become the force that brought two civilizations together, teaching them both that the greatest strength comes not from avoiding challenges or facing them recklessly, but from learning to face them together. The massive alien ship appeared just beyond Mars' orbit on a quiet Tuesday morning. Its smooth pearl-white surface reflected the sunlight, making it shine like a new star in Earth's sky. Commander Kyungmai stood at the main window of Earth Space Station Alpha, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the vessel approach. "They're sending another message," announced her communications officer. "They seem worried about something." Kyungmai turned away from the window. After 20 years in Space Command, very few things surprised her anymore. But the tone of these aliens' messages was odd. They kept asking about Earth's distance from the sun, almost as if they couldn't believe their sensors. The aliens' message appeared in translated text. Urgent query. Confirm your civilization's primary habitat is third planet from unstable star. Request immediate evacuation discussion. Kyungmai couldn't help but smile. In all the first contact scenarios they had planned for, no one had expected aliens to be concerned about humans living near their own sun. "Send them clearance to dock at Bay 3, she said. "And someone wake up Jin. We're going to need our best solar physicist for this conversation." The alien ship was smaller up close, about the size of an old Earth cruise ship. As it docked with the space station, Kyungmai studied its elegant design through the docking bay cameras. The vessel had no visible engines or weapons, just smooth curves that somehow pulled it through space. Jin arrived at the docking bay, still pulling on his uniform jacket. His usually neat black hair was messy from sleep, but his eyes were alert and curious. "Commander," he said, nodding to Kyungmai. "Is it true? They're worried about our sun." The airlock cycled, and both humans straightened their uniforms. First contact was first contact, even if the aliens thought humans were crazy. The alien delegation that stepped through the doorway looked almost like tall, thin humans with silvery skin that sparkled under the station's lights. Their leader, who introduced herself as Rai-Su, had large, dark eyes that kept darting to the nearby window where the sun was visible. "Welcome to Earth Space Station Alpha," Kyungmai said with a small bow. "I'm Commander Kyungmai, and this is Dr. Jin, our chief solar physicist." Rai-Su stepped forward, her movements graceful but tense. "Your hospitality is appreciated, but we must discuss your civilization's situation immediately. Our long-range scans indicated advanced technology and culture here, but surely you must be planning to relocate." "Your star." Rai-Su's voice rose slightly. "It's a yellow dwarf in its main sequence phase. It regularly ejects massive solar flares, has an unstable magnetic field, and will eventually expand to consume your inner planets. How can you live so close to such a volatile object?" Kyungmai and Jin exchanged glances. The commander could see the scientist trying not to smile. "Perhaps we should move this discussion to our conference room," Kyungmai suggested. "We can show you our solar monitoring systems and explain how we've adapted to life near our sun." As they walked through the station's corridors, Rai-Su and her team kept stopping to stare out windows at the sun. They flinched every time they saw it, as if expecting it to explode at any moment. In the conference room, Jin pulled up a holographic display of the solar system. "Our sun is actually quite stable for its type," he explained. "We've learned to predict and protect ourselves from solar activity. It's been our constant companion for billions of years." Companion. Another alien, whose name was similar to a whistle, looked horrified. "You speak of it as if it's not a perpetual threat to your existence." "Well," Jin said carefully, "we've built our civilization around it. Our earliest ancestors figured out its patterns for farming. We learned to harness its energy. It's part of who we are." Rai-Su shook her head in disbelief. Our civilization specifically chose a star system with an old, stable star that has minimal stellar activity. The idea of deliberately remaining near such a young, active star. She paused, studying the humans' calm faces. You truly aren't concerned. We respect its power, Kyungmai said. But fear? No. Humanity has always faced challenges head-on. It's how we grow stronger. As if to emphasize her point, a small alert appeared on the conference room screen. A minor solar flare had just erupted. While the aliens jumped in their seats, the humans barely glanced at it. The station's shields would handle it automatically, just as they had thousands of times before. Raisu looked from the alert to the calm humans, and back again. Your species, she said slowly, is either the bravest or the most foolish we have ever encountered. I'm not yet sure which. Kyung-mi smiled. Why don't you stay a while and find out? Du-yun had arranged something special for the alien visitors. He took them to a small town in South Korea, where an ancient festival celebrating the sun was taking place. The streets were filled with colorful lanterns, and people danced in bright yellow and orange clothes. This festival has been celebrated for over 2,000 years, Du-yun explained as they walked through the crowds. People stared at the silver-skinned aliens, but kept a polite distance. Long before we understood what the sun really was, we knew it was important to us. Raisu watched a group of children running past with paper suns on sticks. You taught your young ones to love something so dangerous. We taught them to respect it, Du-yun corrected gently. Look there. He pointed to an old woman teaching children how to make sun cookies, round, yellow treats that were traditional at the festival. She's not just teaching them to bake. She's telling them stories about the sun that her grandmother told her. The aliens followed Du-yun into a small museum next to the festival grounds. Inside, Hae-jin was waiting with Kyung-mi. The walls showed the history of human solar science, from ancient sundials to modern solar shields. Every culture on Earth has sun stories, Hae-jin said, pointing to different displays. Some saw it as a god. Others thought it was a giant firebird. But they all knew one thing. Without the sun, we wouldn't exist. One of the alien scientists touched a display showing an ancient Egyptian sun temple. Your ancestors built monuments to it. They did, Kyung-mi said. And now we build different kinds of monuments. She activated a hologram showing the massive solar energy farms in the Sahara Desert. We turned our worship into understanding, and our understanding into power. As they walked through the museum, the aliens stopped at a display about solar storms. It showed pictures of beautiful auroras lighting up the sky in green and blue colors. This is what humans did that was different, Du-yun explained. When we saw something scary, we also looked for its beauty. When we found something dangerous, we looked for ways to use it. Raisu watched a video of children playing in a park while a solar shield shimmered overhead, protecting them. Your young ones don't even notice it anymore, do they? The danger they live with. Is it really danger if you know how to handle it? Hae-jin asked. He led them to a window where they could see the festival outside. Look at those people. They're celebrating under the same sun that you think should terrify them. But they're not afraid because their ancestors faced that fear thousands of years ago and decided to learn instead of run. Just then, a small alert sounded from Hae-jin's pocket device. The aliens tensed, but Hae-jin smiled. Perfect timing, he said. The solar flare we saw forming yesterday is about to hit. Would you like to see how humans celebrate it? Despite their obvious nervousness, the aliens agreed to go outside. Du-yun led them to the festival's main square, where a large screen showed the approaching solar storm. Instead of running for shelter, people were gathering to watch. The sky began to glow with shifting colors as the solar shields converted the dangerous radiation into light. The crowd cheered. Children pointed and laughed. Someone started playing traditional drums. This is what we wanted to show you, Du-yun said softly to Raisu. Humans don't just survive near our star. We've made it part of who we are. Every challenge it gives us makes us stronger, smarter, more creative. Raisu watched as an old man lifted his granddaughter onto his shoulders so she could better see the lights in the sky. The child's laughter echoed across the square. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "there is something our people could learn from yours. Not just about living with a young star, but about living with uncertainty itself." Above them, the aurora danced in the sky, a reminder that what one civilization saw as a deadly threat, another had transformed into art. The festival drums beat louder, matching the rhythm of the solar winds that humans had learned to predict, protect against, and finally, to celebrate. The alarms started at exactly 3:47 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Commander Kyungmei was drinking her morning coffee when every screen in the command center turned red. Major solar event detected. The station's AI announced. Estimated arrival: 15 minutes. The alien delegation had been about to leave for their ship. Now they stood frozen, watching as humans rushed to their stations with practiced speed. No one was panicking. Instead, they moved like dancers in a well-rehearsed play. "Status report," Kyungmai ordered, setting down her coffee. Heijin's fingers flew across his console. "The sunspot we were watching exploded. It's bigger than anything we've seen in the last 5 years." He looked up, his face serious but calm. "The radiation wave will hit Earth's shields hard. Your people must evacuate." Raisu stepped forward, her silver skin pale with worry. "Our sensors show this level of solar activity could destroy a planet's atmosphere." Tadwan, who had just run into the command center, shook his head. "We don't run," he said, taking his place at the shield control station. "Everyone, this is not a drill. Standard Emergency Protocol Alpha 7. The aliens watched in amazement as instead of fleeing, more humans arrived. Each person knew exactly what to do. Some worked on computers, others adjusted huge machines, and some talked calmly to people on Earth. "Shield power at maximum," Taiwan reported. "All backup systems online." "Global warning sent," another officer added. "All surface activities paused. Underground shelters on standby, but probably won't be needed." Do Yun turned to the alien visitors. "You might want to watch this," he said with a small smile. "It's not often we get to see the shields at full power." The main screen showed the massive solar flare approaching Earth. It was beautiful in a terrifying way. A huge wave of golden fire racing through space. The aliens held their breath, certain they were about to watch a disaster. "Impact in 5. Heijin counted down. 4, 3, 2, 1. The wave hit Earth's shields. For a moment, the entire planet looked like it was wrapped in blue lightning. The shield network glowed as it caught the solar energy, transforming the deadly radiation into harmless light. "Shield holding at 87%, Taiwan announced. "Energy conversion systems working perfectly. We're actually storing most of this power." Raisu stepped closer to the screen, her eyes wide. "You're not just surviving the flare," she whispered. "You're using it." "Of course," Kyungmai said, picking up her coffee again. "Why waste good energy? The power from this one flare will help run cities for weeks." The aliens watched as the humans worked, turning a potential disaster into a source of power. On Earth, people were coming out of their homes to watch the light show in the sky. Children pointed at the beautiful colors created by the shields. "Look at these readings," one of the alien scientists said, checking their instruments. "This level of solar activity would have destroyed most civilizations. But your people..." He paused, struggling to find words. "We've had lots of practice," Heijin said with a shrug. "After a few hundred solar storms, you get pretty good at handling them." As the crisis passed, the command center slowly returned to normal. The humans acted like nothing unusual had happened, going back to their regular work. Some even joked about the extra power they'd collected. "I think I understand now," Raisu said quietly to Du Yun. "Your people don't just accept the danger. You've made it part of your strength." Du Yun nodded. "Every challenge makes us better." Every storm makes our shields stronger. Every problem teaches us something new. Shield power returning to normal levels, Ta-1 reported. Energy storage facilities at 92% capacity. I'd call that a good morning's work. Commander Kyungmei turned to the alien visitors. Well, she said with a smile. Still think we're crazy for living here. The aliens looked at each other, then at the humans who had just turned a deadly solar flare into a power source. Finally, Rai-Su spoke. Perhaps, she said, we were wrong about what makes a star dangerous. And perhaps we were wrong about what makes a civilization strong. Outside the station's windows, Earth's shields still sparkled with captured solar energy, a testament to humanity's ability to dance with danger and emerge stronger. Ta-1 stood in the middle of Earth's largest solar shield control room, surrounded by floating holograms. The alien delegation watched as he moved his hands through the air, adjusting the shield's power levels with simple gestures. Think of it like an umbrella made of energy, he explained to the aliens. But instead of stopping rain, it stops dangerous solar radiation. He smiled as he worked, clearly proud of the system he helped design. Rai-Su stepped closer to one of the holograms. It showed Earth covered in a soft blue net of energy. And this protects your whole planet. All the time. Most of the time, it runs at 20% power, Ta-1 said. That's enough for normal solar weather. When big storms come, we can boost it to full power in seconds. He-Jin, who had been quiet until now, pointed to a screen showing the sun's surface. Look there, he said. See those dark spots? 10 years ago, a spot that size would have made us nervous. Now it's just another Tuesday. The aliens gathered around another display that showed the history of human solar protection. They saw pictures of the first crude radiation shields on early space stations, then the first city-sized shields, and finally the global network that now protected Earth. You built all this in less than a century. One of the alien scientists asked, How did you work so fast? Ta-1 laughed. We had good motivation. Either figure it out or get cooked by a solar flare. Humans work best when we don't have a choice. He led them to a testing chamber where a miniature version of the shield system protected a small garden. Watch this, he said, pressing some buttons. A blast of artificial solar radiation hit the shield. Instead of blocking the energy, the shield absorbed it and converted it to power for the plants below. You don't just block the radiation, Rai-Su said, understanding dawning in her large eyes. You use it. Exactly. Ta-1 beamed. Why waste all that energy? Our star throws it at us for free. We just had to learn how to catch it safely. Commander Kyungmei, who had been observing quietly, stepped forward. Ta-1, show them the emergency response system. He nodded and changed the display to show thousands of small dots spread across Earth. These are shield boosters, he explained. If one part of the shield fails, nearby boosters automatically strengthen to cover the gap. We have backups for our backups. But what if all of them fail? One of the aliens asked. Then we use the underground cities, Kyungmei said calmly. Every major city on Earth has shelters deep enough to protect people from even the worst solar storms, but we haven't needed them in 15 years. Ta-1 pulled up another hologram, this one showing Mars. We're using the same technology to build shields on Mars, he said. Once they're done, we can start making the surface more livable. The aliens watched as he demonstrated how the Mars shields would work. Their expressions showed a mix of worry and growing respect. Your people, Rai-Su said slowly, don't just survive near your star. You're using it to expand to other planets. Of course, Ta-1 replied. The same star that could hurt us is also helping us reach other worlds. We couldn't terraform Mars without its energy. He showed them one final display, a timeline of human space development. Look here, he said, pointing to different events. Every major breakthrough in space technology came after a solar crisis. The first global shields came after a big solar storm. The energy conversion system came after a near miss with a super flare. Even our best AI systems were developed to predict solar weather. You're saying, one of the alien scientists spoke up, that the very thing we avoid has pushed your technology forward. Exactly, He-Jin said. Your people chose a safe, stable star. That was smart. But our dangerous star forced us to become smarter. Every problem it caused led to a new solution. And each solution took us one step further into space. Taiwan smiled as he shut down the holograms. Want to see something really interesting? We're testing a new shield design next week. One that could let us build stations even closer to the sun. Would you like to watch? The aliens looked at each other, their expressions a mix of horror and fascination. Finally, Raisu spoke. Your people truly are different from ours. Where we see limits, you see challenges. Where we see barriers, you see opportunities. That's just being human, Taiwan said with a shrug. Now, who wants to see how we surf solar waves? The day after the solar storm, He-Jin took Raisu and her team to a special place, a small science museum for children. Young students filled the halls, their excited voices echoing off the walls as they played with interactive displays about the sun. Watch this, He-Jin said, leading them to a large round room. This is how we teach our children about our star. The room turned dark, and suddenly they were standing in space. The hologram system made it feel like they were floating among the stars. A huge image of the sun filled the center of the room. It's perfectly safe, He-Jin assured the nervous aliens. Look at the children. A group of 8-year-olds ran into the room, laughing as the hologram sun sparked and flared around them. A young teacher followed, gathering them in a circle. Who can tell me why our sun is special? The teacher asked. It gives us energy. One child shouted. It helps plants grow, said another. It makes the aurora lights pretty, a third child added. Raisu watched the children with growing interest. They show no fear, she whispered to He-Jin. Why should they? He replied. They've grown up understanding the sun. Knowledge beats fear every time. The teacher was now showing the children how solar flares worked, using the hologram to demonstrate. The students asked questions, made notes, and even suggested ways to improve the shield systems. Your young ones already think about improving your technology, one of the alien scientists asked, amazed. Of course, He-Jin said. Every human child knows they might be the one to invent something new, something that makes life near our sun even better. They moved to another room where teenagers were working on small shield generators. Each student had built their own miniature version of Earth's protection system. Look at this one, He-Jin said, pointing to a girl's project. She had modified the standard design to capture more solar energy while using less power. She's 15 years old, and she's already improving our technology. Raisu touched one of the student projects gently. On our world, we teach our children to avoid danger. You teach yours to master it. Not exactly, came Du Yun's voice. He had just entered the museum. We teach them to understand it. Fear comes from not understanding. Once you understand something, you can work with it. They watched as the teenager explained her shield design to younger students. Her eyes shone with excitement as she talked about solar physics and energy conversion. This is why we advance so quickly, He-Jin explained. Every generation grows up knowing they can make things better. They don't see problems. They see chances to improve. The aliens followed him to one last exhibit. It showed the history of human spaceflight, from the first rockets to modern solar-powered ships. Look at these dates, He-Jin said. See how fast we progressed. Each solar challenge pushed us to develop new solutions. Without our active sun, we might still be stuck on Earth, afraid to venture into space. A small alert sounded. Another solar flare was starting. But this time, instead of panicking, the aliens watched the children's reactions. The students rushed to the windows, excited to see the shields in action. I think I understand now, Raisu said slowly. Your star forced you to adapt, to innovate. But more than that, it taught your people to see challenges differently. Yes, Du Yun agreed. Where you see danger, we see opportunity. Where you see limits, we see possibilities. And your children? One of the alien scientists asked, watching the students excitedly discuss the approaching flare. They see adventure, He Jin replied with a smile. Every solar storm is a chance to learn. Every problem is a chance to grow. As they stood there, watching human children excitedly point out the first shimmer of shields activating in the sky, Raisu turned to He Jin. Perhaps, she said, we should start a student exchange program. Your children could teach ours about living with an active star. And maybe ours could teach yours about the beauty of stability. He Jin nodded, watching as the shields turned the sky into a canvas of dancing lights. That's how humans grow best, he said, not by avoiding challenges, but by sharing what we learn from them. The alien ship's meeting room looked very different from the human spaces. Everything was soft and curved, with calm, steady lights that never changed. Raisu had invited the human team aboard to share their own stellar technology. This is how we study stars, she explained, activating a device that filled the room with tiny points of light. We can watch them from very far away, where it's safe. Taiwan walked through the hologram, studying the alien technology with bright eyes. The detail is amazing, he said. We could use this to improve our early warning systems. You would use our safety technology to hit closer to danger. One of the alien scientists asked, sounding worried. We would use it to be better prepared, He Jin corrected gently. Better information means better protection. Commander Kyungme studied a display showing how the aliens powered their ships. They used energy from old, stable stars that had burned steadily for billions of years. It was safer than human solar power, but it produced much less energy. Look at this, Du Yun said, pointing to a chart. Your ships are beautiful, but they're slow compared to ours. Solar power gives us more speed. Raisu nodded. We sacrifice speed for safety. It has always been our way. She paused, then added, but perhaps there is a middle path. The humans shared their own technology next. Taiwan showed them how human ships used solar sails to catch the sun's energy. He Jin explained how they predicted solar weather. The aliens watched with growing interest. Your methods are dangerous, one alien scientist said, but the results are impressive. You travel between planets in days, while we take months. We can help each other, Du Yun suggested. Your long-range scanning could make our solar prediction better. Our shield technology could help your ships travel faster. As they talked, a junior alien scientist who had been quiet until now spoke up. Could you teach us how to build shields like yours? Not to live near young stars, but maybe to explore them more closely. The older aliens looked shocked at this idea, but Raisu considered it carefully. Learning about different types of stars could help us understand space better, she said slowly. And we could learn from your careful approach, Kyungme added. Sometimes humans move too fast, take too many risks. Your experience could help us be smarter about it. They spent hours sharing knowledge. The aliens showed humans how to read the deep patterns of old stars. The humans taught the aliens how to surf solar winds for faster space travel. Both sides took careful notes. Watch this, Taiwan said, using the alien hologram system to show how human ships rode solar storms. With your scanning technology, we could see the storms forming even earlier. The aliens were fascinated. One of them tried to calculate a safe way to test human solar sailing techniques. Another studied Earth's shield designs, looking for ways to make them even stronger. You know what's interesting? He Jin said, watching them work together. We both want the same thing, to explore space and understand it better. We just chose different paths to get there. Raisu looked at the humans who had turned their dangerous star into a tool for exploration. Then she looked at her own people, who were starting to see new possibilities. Perhaps, she said, the best path is one we make together. Your courage and our caution. Your speed and our safety. Do Yun smiled. That's how humans have always grown. By learning from others, sharing what we know, finding better ways together. As they talked, Earth's sun sent another small flare into space, but this time, none of the aliens flinched. Instead, they used their scanning technology to study it while the humans showed them how the energy could be used. We were wrong, Raisu said finally. We thought you were foolish to live near such a star, but you've shown us that there are many ways to live in space, many ways to grow stronger. And you've shown us that sometimes it's good to be more careful, Kyungmai replied. Every star has something to teach us, the calm ones and the active ones. Together, they watched the solar flare fade away, humans and aliens united in their curiosity about the universe. They had found something more powerful than their differences, the desire to learn and grow, to reach out into space and understand its wonders. Raisu stood in Earth's main spaceport, watching ships take off and land. Each one used the sun's energy to power their engines, riding solar winds like ancient sailing ships once rode ocean waves. Next to her, Hejin was checking data on his tablet. I've been studying your civilization's history, she said suddenly. Something strange stood out to me. What's that? Hejin looked up from his work. Your people advance faster during crisis times. When your sun is most active, your technology grows quickly. But our people, she paused, thinking carefully. We chose the safest path, and now we move very slowly. Du Yun, who had been showing other aliens around the port, joined them. You think there's a connection? Look at this, Raisu said, pulling out her own data device. She showed them a chart comparing human and alien progress over the last 1,000 years. The difference was clear. Humans had achieved in centuries what had taken the aliens millennia. Our safe star never pushed us, she explained. We never had to solve huge problems quickly. We never had to think in new ways. Hejin nodded slowly. While our dangerous star forced us to innovate or die, every solar storm was a lesson. Every challenge made us stronger. They walked to the port's observation deck. Below them, engineers were testing a new type of shield that could let ships fly even closer to the sun. The aliens watched with a mix of worry and interest. Your people take big risks, one of the alien scientists said. But you learn from every mistake. He looked down. We haven't made real mistakes in generations. We haven't had to. Commander Kyung-mi joined them, bringing news from the alien homeworld. Your leaders are surprised by our reports, she told Raisu. They can't believe how much we've learned from each other in just a few weeks. Because we're doing something new, Raisu replied. Something neither of our peoples have done before. We're learning from our differences. Taiwan arrived with more test results. The combination of alien scanning technology and human shield systems was working better than anyone had expected. Ships could now see solar storms forming earlier and protect themselves better. This is what we were missing, he said excitedly. Your careful observation skills and our fast adaptation working together. The aliens watched as a ship launched, its new hybrid shields glowing with combined human and alien technology. It moved faster than any alien ship, but more safely than any human ship had before. We thought your star was a curse, Raisu said quietly. But it was a gift. It taught your people to face problems head-on, to adapt, to grow. And we can learn from your caution, Hejin replied. Sometimes humans move too fast, take too many risks. Your experience helps us be wiser. Du Yun gathered everyone around a large display showing both their star systems. Look at this, he said. Your stable star let you build a peaceful civilization that lasted thousands of years. Our active star pushed us to innovate quickly. Both paths led to space. Both paths taught important lessons. But now, Kyungmai added, we can share those lessons. Your wisdom and our courage. Your patience and our speed. The aliens looked at each other, then at the humans. Generations of avoiding young, active stars had made their people very careful. but it had also held them back in some ways. "I need to send a message to our homeworld," Raisu announced. "We've been wrong about so many things. Living near a challenging star didn't make humans weak. It made them incredibly strong. And choosing only safe paths didn't make us wise. It just made us afraid of change." As she spoke, another solar flare alert sounded. But this time, nobody panicked. Humans and aliens worked together, using their combined technology to study the flare and protect against it. "Maybe that's the biggest lesson," Heijin said, watching the cooperation. "There's no single right way to live among the stars. The real strength comes from learning from each other." Outside, Earth's sun flared again, its energy caught and transformed by shields built with both human courage and alien wisdom. It wasn't just a star anymore. It was a symbol of how different paths could lead to the same goal: understanding the universe and our place in it.